September 21st, 1941. With the panzers thrust into the Donbas, it became quite clear to the Soviet High Command that the next Axis objective would have been the city of Rostov-on-Don, the natural gate to the Caucasus. Having reached the city last week, the patrols of the Viking SS Motorized Infantry Division confirmed von Kleist's worst nightmare. Over the past weeks, the Red Army has had enough time to turn Rostov into an impregnable fortress. Having therefore excluded the possibility of launching a frontal and direct attack, General von Wittersheim exploits the cloudy but rainless week and orders his men to cross the Don and surround the fortress on all sides. And so this week, just as Army Group North ends the siege of Leningrad, Army Group South begins the siege of Rostov. Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome to, as always, the last episode of this week in War in the East 2. And this episode begins with some, let's say, redeployment of the infantry forces of Army Group South. Besides the, let's say, a very opening led by the Hungarians, which finally managed to rout and annihilate the very last pocket of resistance in the Pripyat marshes, which by the way, I would like to remind you that the Kiev pocket has been almost wiped out. I would say 3 to 4 weeks ago. So you know, this tells you a lot about the resistance of the enemy troops in isolated hexes when playing on the impossible difficulty. And also one thing that I noticed while I was setting up the defenses in the sector of Army Group South. First of all, there were like enormous gaps in the lines of Army Group Center, especially in the sector of the 2nd Panzer Group. And because of the movements of the previous turn, the 2nd Army, the infantry of the 2nd Army didn't have enough movement points to reach new positions and ideally relieve the panzers of Guderian's 2nd Panzer Group. At the same time, while I was preparing my plans for the defense, for setting up a defensive position for the winter period, I was a bit undecided whether to establish a defensive line west of the Oskol River, which would have allowed me to keep Kupiansk and would have brought me much closer to Voronezh. Voronezh, I think it's called, yeah. But in the end, I decided to go for a line stretching, would say, between, I would say, east of Belgorod, between the Donetsk and the Nezhegol rivers. And then, yeah, I decided to prepare a line that stretched it, as you can see right now, in the sector of the 6th Army, then with the infantry of the 17th Army, and then in between, let's say, the Italians and the Romanians. And of course, on the, I would say, left flank of the 1st Panzer Group, the main defensive line would have been anchored along the northern bank of the Donetsk River. Honestly, I don't know if this was the best approach ever, because in theory, I could have pushed maybe ideally one more turn, ideally this turn, to have a defensive line west of the Oskil River. But again, I really don't know if this was the best way to do to organize a defensive line in this position, because honestly, I have never reached so deep into the into any campaign, and I was caught a bit unprepared. Also, the reason why I decided to anchor myself on this defensive line was that, first of all, this allowed me to dig in already during the next Soviet logistics phase. On the other hand, the fact that I was, let's say, trading some administratively controlled hexes for space meant that, in theory, I still don't know, I'm still hoping to see that that in the next turns the Soviets will have to burn many of their movement points to just enter and occupy the axes that are now controlled by me, but will be empty in the Soviet phase, so that I could kind of, let's say, gain some time to further begin. I know that I'm most likely going to feel bad about it, simply because I'm not confident that this plan will actually work, and also I don't think that this is the best way to to organize your defensive positions if you are so deep into the enemy territory. Normally, the golden rule is to trade land for time when the Soviet counteroffensive begins, and not when the rain season begins. So yeah, anyway, I don't know, we'll see, time will tell. I hope for the best. I just hope that the river modifiers will hopefully give some boni to my troops. And then yeah, now coming to the attack of the 1st Panzer Group, there is pretty much nothing else that needs to be said. My unit simply brushed the poorly trained and ill-equipped Soviet divisions standing west of the Don. They brushed them away, brushed them aside, and this in turn allowed the units of von Wittersheim 14th Motorized Army Corps to completely surround Rostov, and especially the 9th Panzer Division, that by attacking Bataisk from the northeast allowed me to secure the line around Rostov. And yeah, I mean, with the siege of Rostov, I again kind of decided to entrench my units along the this newly reached line. And yeah, small spoiler alert, I forgot to fortify Voroshilgrad. And yeah, you will see in the at least maybe next week what will happen, what the Soviets will do. But yeah, spoiler alert: the Soviets will reoccupy Voroshilgrad, and I will sadly lose one construction battalion, or the construction battalion that I assigned, let's say, off camera to repair the rail yards there. And then of course, yeah, the 11th Army. I never mentioned it before, but yeah, the 11th Army kept advancing slowly but surely into Crimea, with the ultimate goal of besieging and taking Sevastopol, ideally before December 25th. In practice, again, I don't know if I will manage to take Sevastopol by Christmas. But still, that's it for this week, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I wish you all the best. And as always, I'll see you all again next week.